During Japan's Heian period, the elite practice of matrilocality helped certain individuals and families dominate the imperial court and even the imperial institution itself. During this period, when a woman and a man got married, they wouldn't customarily live together, nor would they live with the groom's family. Matrilocality meant that the bride would remain at the home of her parents, and that the husband would commute back and forth to visit his wife and procreate. Of course, the aspect of this arrangement that had the most profound implications related not so much to the bride and the groom, but rather to the children of matrilocal marriages. Though the children were considered the direct descendants of their father, they were raised at the home of their mother. More to the point, they were raised at the home of the mother, surrounded by, nurtured, instructed, and cared for by the mother's relatives, most typically her father, her uncles, brothers, and other male maternal relatives. This meant that fathers, especially the very important ones, often didn't feature prominently in the lives of their own children. Now imagine how such a practice could be used as a political tool. If, for example, a high-ranking aristocrat could get his daughters to marry an imperial prince, a son who was born in that union would grow up to be a prince himself and maybe even someday become emperor. But living with his mother's family, that boy would grow up with strong personal bonds of trust and affection, not with his father, but rather with the men and the women on his mother's side. Should that prince become emperor, who do you think he would turn to as trusted advisors, his confidants, the people who might just rule in his name? Of course, he would turn to his maternal relatives, the people who effectively raised him. Matrilocality made it possible for powerful aristocrats with many daughters to advance the fortunes of their families, expanding their private power while eroding public authority. The family that most effectively exploited matrilocality was the Fujiwara. So dominant did the Fujiwara become at court around the turn of the first millennium that some historians even call that period the Fujiwara era. The imperial regent Fujiwara no Michinaga was the greatest of them all. Michinaga ruled over court affairs as if they were his own personal, political, and economic domain. At the height of his power, he was father to 4 empresses, uncle to 2 emperors, and grandfather to 3 more. And critically, much of his success came from his skilled exploitation of the sexual politics of marriage and matrilocality. Michinaga himself summed up his status in a famous poem he composed to mark yet another daughter's ascension to empress. He wrote, "This world, I think, is indeed my world. Like the full moon I shine, uncovered by any cloud." Now it should be mentioned that matrilocality meant that many well-educated, skilled, and refined noblewomen in Heian Japan played a political role of far greater centrality, far greater importance than their counterparts in Europe and other parts of Asia. They were so pivotal, in fact, that some of the greatest aristocrats of the day owe much of their success to their daughters.